Welcome, Brian Rose. Thanks for being here to present for Region 9. Please take it away.
Thanks, Vanessa. Yeah, I don't typically spend my mornings in a bingo hall, but today I get to come to you from the Sky U Casino in Ignacio and appreciate the opportunity. At Region 9, we typically serve the 5 counties down in the southwest corner of the state. We do have a couple of loan programs that allow us to go statewide, but I always like to share the little bit of knowledge that we have and some of the things that we use, some of the tools we use in support of our entrepreneurs to the entire state. Like Vanessa said, sometimes being in the rural parts of the states, we're a little disconnected from some of the resources that are out there. So happy to share. Like Vanessa mentioned, I've got another panel starting at 9:30. So here's my contact information. And I'll make these slides available to Vanessa for you guys as well if we don't have time to answer all the questions that you need. But when I think of entrepreneurship and building a business, I find myself as I'm counseling small business owners using analogies that sound an awful lot like carpentry, where you need lots of tools to build a house. There's lots of tools out there to help you build your business. And so today we're going to go through a couple of those, and that's kind of the premise of the presentation today. So now let me figure out how to move through my slides here. Here we go. The first tool that is out there is called the Enterprise Zone. This is a statutorily created program by the state of Colorado. They look at census tracts around the state, excuse me, and these census tracts that maybe are a little bit more economically distressed, don't have as much business activity going on, can be designated as an enterprise zone. They change every 10 years, and they're about to change in 2026, so next year. But just by the virtue of your business being located in the enterprise zone entitles you to a certain number of tax credits that you could be taken advantage of. Now, these are state tax credits, not federal tax credits. But it can help offset some tax burden that you may have and just keep a little bit more money in your pocket. So here's the list of the credits that are available out there. The first one, the investment tax credit. So that is all the equipment that you would buy for your business if you're located in an enterprise zone would be subject to a 3% tax credit. So you get your normal depreciation or write-off that you would on your federal tax return, and these are extra on top of that. So the investment tax credit, the business equipment is one I see that gets utilized a lot. If you buy a vehicle for your business, it's 1.5% of the purchase price of the vehicle as a tax credit. And the new employee one is one that is often highly utilized for startup businesses. They basically take your employee count on January 1 and your employee count at the end of the tax year on December 31st. And if you've grown your employees, you get an $1,100 per new employee tax credit. So a great way to, like I said, keep a little bit of money in your pocket. And another one that seems to work really well in our more rural communities is the vacant building rehab credit. So there's a lot of blight in some of our small rural towns, buildings that have sat vacant for years. If you house your business in one of those buildings that's been vacant for at least 2 years, then you can get a tax credit of up to 25% of the rehab remodel expenses. So that could be a big number. So lots of times when I'm talking, especially to startup businesses, and we're talking about where would be a good location to put the business, this is the first thing that we often do is let's see if getting you into the enterprise zone would work and benefit you. So here's a rough map of where the enterprise zones exist. You can see along the Front Range, there's tons of economic activity, and so there's not as many zones there, but the rest of the rural part of the state you can see is highly incentivized to attract businesses out there. I typically tell people if you just Google Colorado Enterprise Zone, it'll take you to the Office of Economic Development and International Trade's website, and they have an interactive map where you can actually either drill down to the street level, you can plug in an actual address of a building, and it'll pull it up and tell you if you're in the zone or not. There are a few zones out there that are enhanced zones where these tax credits go up even higher. And again, those are some of the areas that have a lot more Blythe. Then the trick to the program to be able to take advantage of it is you do have to register your business at being at that address. So and you have to do it before you spend the money on these eligible expenses. So for example, if you register today, you would get a certificate from the state confirming you're in the zone. But if you bought that commercial truck last week, it wouldn't be eligible for the tax credit. So it's from the point you register forward during the tax year. And then they do open up the registration in October for the upcoming tax year so that you can register before the year starts and not have to worry about that and miss out on any opportunities. So with startup businesses, I always say, get registered before you go start buying all the equipment and everything you need for your business so that you can take advantage of it. If you're looking at acquiring a business, maybe as part of your growth strategy or acquiring a competitor, do the pre-registration before you do that acquisition because all the equipment and items you're going to buy in that business could be eligible for the tax credits. So, and then there's a website there, the choosecolorado.com. That is the Office of Economic Development and International Trade's website where it has the map that I mentioned you can drill into. So that was the first incentive and opportunity that's out there. The second one is called the Colorado Rural Jumpstart Program, and this one's been around just for a couple of years. It's also run through the state's Office of Economic Development and International Trade, and this program is basically aims to incentivize new businesses coming into a community. It could be a business that's relocating into a county or one that's starting up. And this one needs to be applied for early before the business really starts to get into the revenue stage. And the county that you're looking at moving into has to participate. So you can see all the counties that have been approved for the program. And if you apply and you're accepted and there is no competing businesses like you in the county you're moving into, or the county adjacent to you is how the rules go, then you could be eligible for state income tax relief, sales tax relief, use tax relief, property tax relief, and potentially a matching grant. I think they've got two grants. I have up to 20,000. I think there's one at 15 and one at 25,000, and that's based on how distressed the county is that you're moving into. But basically, the matching grant fund is a 3-to-1 match. So if you're going to spend 50,000, or that's not a good example, I can't do that math that good. Say $60,000 in some startup expenses, then 15,000 of that could be covered by the state grant. And go towards those startup and operational costs. And then there's some additional grant money for each new employee that you create. As part of the application, you do have to make some commitments to get the grant money that you would expect to hire between 3 and 5 employees over the next 3 years, I believe is the time frame on that. In order to apply for this, you do have to be sponsored by an economic development office There are offices like ours all around the state. I've got a few of them coming up in a couple of slides so you can look for your region and your area and who that office might be. Or you could partner with uh, an institution of higher learning, like a college or a community college in your community. So again, new businesses, startups, locating minimally competitive with other businesses in that same county. And then I've got the link down there at the bottom, actually from Vanessa's website, which has a lot of fantastic information and detail on there that explains the program a little bit further. So again, another tool to look at and take advantage of. Moving on, like Vanessa mentioned, financing and getting access to capital is a very important part for small businesses. A lack of capital and access to capital is one of the top three reasons that businesses don't make it in a lot of instances. So certainly understand the importance of that. The state recognizes the importance of that. And there are um, 14 different regions around the state that access federal and state funds to make loans to small businesses. We're looking to try to fill the gap where bank financing falls off and can't quite help get you there. So for example, if you go to a bank to purchase equipment and they're only willing to finance 50% of the purchase price of that equipment and you've got 15% to put down, so that means you still need another 35%. Those are the kind of scenarios that we like to jump in and help fill that gap to get you what you need. So we all meet regularly and have some programs that we can share with each other and help get the financing in place. And really, the target, like I said, is businesses that can't get traditional financing and or that are underserved businesses. Just by being in a rural community, you're automatically defined as an underserved entrepreneur. Women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses are all considered underserved by the state's definition. So they provide us funds to turn around and make loans for you. So lots of times I find that not all business loan funds are as robust as others, and they're not out and about as much. Sometimes those lenders have other jobs that they do in economic development. So I like to promote it, and especially on these types of presentations that are statewide, just to share the word and let people know that we're out there and willing to help. So here is some contact information for each of those regions and folks that you can reach out to get support. Again, I'll make these slides available, but if you see your region and hopefully you can grab your contact person there as well. Um, so that those two slides were about the economic development organizations and the rural support. Here's a number of other lenders and partners, I'm sure of Startup Colorado as well, that also provide some financing. And some of these have a bigger focus on the Front Range if your business is up there. Some of them, like DreamSpring, are located in Albuquerque, but they're a national have a national footprint in their lending. So just a few additional ones that you could look up and seek financing. Sometimes it's good to talk to multiple lenders. I know, like for example, I'm not financing coffee shops right now because we have a lot of them within my community. So we've kind of drawn a line and want to focus on businesses that create a little bit more economic diversity. Nothing wrong with the business and whatnot, but just from a philosophy standpoint, sometimes it could be a little bit different at each lender. And then the last thing I like to bring up is regional economic development offices like ours get funding from the federal government to create a community economic development strategy and a community development action plan. So we meet with stakeholders over the course of 6 to 9 months within our region, and we talk about what gaps are there in our business community. What needs do we need to support our employers in our region? And usually we come up with 200 to 300 different things that need to be worked on. Some of it's infrastructure, more water and sewer, things like that, that are more government focused. But there are a lot of ideas for businesses that could grow and start out of these needs that are recognized in a community. So sometimes I hear people move to town and say, I'd like to start a business. I don't know exactly what I want to do. What do you think? What do you need? And so I usually point them to this document for our region, and and it can provide some ideas that again, that stakeholders and community members have already identified. And then what's going on now at the state level is we're taking all these regional reports and we're combining them into one big report for the state. Most entrepreneurs are a little more focused around their community and their geographic region. But again, it's just a document that shows what opportunities might exist for if you're considering starting a new business. Certainly things like daycare and whatnot are littered through these documents as big needs in our rural communities, just as by way of one example. Um, so again, if you've already got a business, you already got a plan, maybe you don't need to go there, but maybe there's an add-on that you could do for your business or some niche or need that's been identified that you could fill. So I just bring that forward as something else that you may be able to look at in your region. If you need help finding yours, again, reach out and email me. Not every single region has one of these, but more than half of the state does at the moment. So happy to get you connected and pointed towards that document for your particular area. So I blew through those pretty quick, and happy to answer any questions, as I know I didn't get into all the details. So
Thank you, Brian. That was fantastic detail. I really appreciate the way you delivered it so candidly, and information is power, right? All of this is extremely helpful information, and sometimes, like, I didn't understand the Rural Jumpstart program the first couple times I heard it, and this is a really good reminder. So I'm going to stop our recording there for today. Thank you, Brian.